Okay, so thanks for coming on, first of all. And before we dive into like all the changes that you've made, I think it would be really helpful for people to know where you started and where you were before you started working with me on your nutrition.
Sure. So we started working together right at the new year. And for the last, like, a pattern since Theo was born, and he's turning 14, I have never been able to manage my exercise and weight and just overall wellness. And my weight has climbed. I mean, but before I got pregnant, I was around 140, went up to like 180 with pregnancy, and my weight was unmanageable. Basically because of misinformation that you've helped me sort through, but through not structuring my days correctly, misinformation, then you get into your 40s and you're overweight and you don't feel good about yourself. It was really the perfect storm for nothing works. This is a mess. What am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
And it's not a good place to be emotionally, physically, health wise. It just turns into, yeah, really just the perfect storm for not feeling good about yourself.
Yeah. And feeling just stuck and not knowing what to do. Yeah.
Stagnant.
Yeah.
It can,
It's pretty common.
yeah,
Um, so okay, that gives a pretty good idea of where you started. And I know like one of your goals was to exercise more consistently, eat more consistently. Where do you feel like you are with those goals and how do you think you've made the biggest changes?
sure. I feel like I've done like a pretty solid job. It was rough, at the beginning. I got COVID and was knocked out. But since, 2 weeks off or whatnot, I am exercising. It's hard because, we're in negative degrees here in Chicago, but I would like to be outside. WALKING. I can't say it, the dog,
Oh
but
yeah.
it's yeah, too much right now. But I'm very proud of myself that I'm very structured with waking up at 5:30 on the dot, and then I'm on the Peloton before Theo and Greg get up. So yesterday I did 40 minutes, today I did 20. I'm going to go and do some walking on the elliptical. Since we started working together, I have a very regimented approach as to what needs to happen. I don't mind, but I eat the same thing basically almost every day with very little change just because I like it and it works for me. I feel good. Cutting out some of this higher carb or processed food, I feel like a lot sharper. Like I'm very, very challenging, aggregated data and whatnot for some of these advertisers I work with. I feel more mentally with it. And I'm able to complete my days, which is interesting because, as you know, I do intermittent fasting. So I do not eat after 3 o'clock. I start early, I'm done by 3, but I'm wide awake and able to complete tasks until I go to bed, which is on the early side. But before I would crash at like 3 o'clock every day, like I got to go to bed.
Yeah.
And now with eating right and just being sharper and exercising, I can fulfill my daily tasks and go to bed, at my usual hour. So
Yeah.
that answer the question, or did I get
Yeah.
off topic?
No, I think that answers it. So, yeah, before we started working together, I know you were still doing the intermittent fasting, but you were more like you were under eating most days and then maybe like binging on the weekend
Yeah,
or enjoying a restaurant meal, which, yeah, that's pretty common as well. And now do you feel like you're more consistent? Like
yeah.
you're
It's
eating more, but it's more consistent?
Well, I was binge eating more than the weekends before because I wasn't being strict and adhering to true like IF.
Yeah.
And then if I didn't plan correctly, which being a working mom, if you didn't plan correctly, eating right, in which I eat like, 600 calories for breakfast, if you don't do that, it falls apart. And then you're working and you're bored and it's bad weather, you eat. So it was a whole mess. But since we started working together, I know when I get up, I need to eat. I need to work out. I need to get all this done before 7:15 in the morning. I know what I'm having for lunch, which I've never, that my fitness app that you turned me on to, you know, you're getting notifications from them. What are you having for lunch? Water. I think I was dehydrated. And I always had a feeling of like lethargy throughout the day, like, and that's gone. So it's all been very positive.
Yay.
Uh, and I'm seeing the results. I mean, I started, I think when we talked, I was 164. I'm down to 151. I'd like to get to like 135.
I know, I noticed that. So when I was looking before we started chatting, I was just looking through all my notes and I didn't realize that you lost that much weight already.
Agree. I'm not starving myself. Most days, I'm a little under where you want me to be for calories, better than it had been.
Yes.
Uh, I've cut back a smidge on the fruit, not that much, a smidge. Um, and I've done a little bit more of protein and carbs, and it's going very well, and I feel good, and I'm seeing results. So it's really positive. I know I'll gain weight. I'm going on to Florida next week. I know I'll gain weight. I'm going to try to, be more mindful, but I also want to have a really good time with my girlfriends. So I know I'll put on X pounds and sodium and all that, but I will get back right on when I come back Monday morning. I'll be back on track.
So, yeah, speaking of vacations, we had already talked about like some strategies. Do you think this vacation will be different than like vacations you've had in the past as far as confidence around food and like knowing that you're going to go off track a little bit, but you have goals to keep you somewhat on track and you
Yeah.
can get back on track?
Yeah, I think that my point of view, we want to have a good time. We want to drink. We go out to eat, but I want to have a solid breakfast at the house, which is very doable, similar to what I have here, which is we can do. I think there's just more mindfulness on the entire approach. We always walk. I want to walk way more. So it's just an enhanced point of view that I don't want to come back from this gaining, 15, whatever this may be. So we're going to plan to eat breakfast, maybe lunch at home, maybe like one treat a day, and like when drinking alcohol instead of doing red wine. Like I already plan on picking up like Grey Goose, just small changes, which we've never done before.
Wow, you've thought
Yeah,
about this.
being a little bit more mindful. So we're also all in sync, which I think will be helpful.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. Like you have support then. And like we've only been working together since I think January 3rd. So
Yeah,
you've
better
made
for the new
like
year.
yeah, you've made insane progress so far. I'm really proud.
So, I mean, I just didn't know what was going on and why things were where they are. And I love that my fitness pal, whatever app, and
Yeah.
I really love the premium version where it shows me it's so good for me accountability wise. I mean, I don't know anything about food. I'm too busy. I don't know what's going on during the day, but it's pretty easy to say, okay, why am I high on carbs today? To look at, I had no clue that was this high. And I will say that I've even taken to being proactive with meal planning. I will type in something and see how it looks. I'll hit nutrition and see, how the macros look. And then if it doesn't look how I want, I'll go in and revise this. I didn't know what a macro was when we started talking. Yeah,
Yeah. And you do now, right?
I do. And I work around this and try to manipulate it so that this is a little bit more in line. So a meal is a little bit more in line with what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Where if you told me we'd be doing this, 5 weeks, 6 weeks ago, I'd be like, I have no clue what you're even talking about. I never want to eat this much, or this kind of food. Like, I don't like vegetables much. I can do fruit, but I never thought I'd be eating like fruit, every day.
Well, you are. You've done amazing so far. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, what's your biggest okay, so you're saying that planning has really played a really big part in being successful. What's your biggest tip, I guess, to other people who are struggling or in the same place where you started that's helped you the most?
Get educated, like cut out the misinformation because when we talked the first time, I'm talking about like low carb diets, which I've always felt and been told by my doctor, like I think that you have a component of insulin resistance, but I with being overweight, and my doctor, it always turned out negative in all the testing that I did.
That's
And
good.
so then I'm still thinking, okay, there's a component just not showing up on lab testing. I don't think I'm insulin resistant. I think my diet was shit.
Yeah, it's simple as that.
Yeah, I think it was so off base. I think the macros were off. And even stuff that's been so helpful, just as like weighing, and I don't really eat much cheese anymore, but like weighing cheese, the scale that you told me to get, I've never weighed anything in my life. I've never used measuring cups. It's just not my vibe. But
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I do now. And I think looking in retrospect, why I couldn't lose weight, I think I seriously probably had like 600 calories of cheese and eggs. Thinking it's low carb. I'm doing IF. This is okay. And totally thinking this is 100 calories. No, that's like 600 calories. Like I feel like I was very uneducated. That's my like number one tip.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like that's pretty relatable too. Like there's the food pyramid and all this there's so many diets out there that are just
Yep.
floating around. And it really comes back to the basics, like hit your calories, hit your macros, eat your fruits and veggies, like eat whole foods, stay
Yeah.
hydrated, move. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's just I was doing pieces of this, but not all together. This has come full force, and I'm having success. You hear about like some women like my age enjoy like doing this like I what's it called, HCG diets, where you eat
Ooh,
like 500 calories and like drop 30 pounds. Like I had a doctor a year before we talked like in 20 must have been 19 talked to me about this, and I'm like, I don't think this is so severe, and there's so many issues with this. And I incorporate some of this too. Greg doesn't want to hear about it. He can eat like sticks of butter, but I do incorporate some of this with Theo. So I just feel like your structure, misinformation, I'm very specific. I every Saturday morning I wake up, I get you the information. Saturday night I go to dinner, and like I want to be able to enjoy one meal a week.
yeah.
I'm going to try to be a little bit more mindful, but if I'm losing X pounds during the week and I gain 1.5 from sodium, I got to have a life, be able
Yeah.
to go out.
That's the real reason that I love macros so much, or I use macros for people, is because like I'm not forcing you to eat certain things only. Like you have freedom, but then you can fit like treats in there and snacks. And I know sometimes when you go out to eat, you go over macros, but
Yeah.
there's still freedom. Like I'm not going to yell at you for that.
Oh, and
But
I like your too. That's something else. So many people that do what you do, it is very like very negative, punitive, self hate.
mhm,
It is there's a very negative perception about working with nutritionists, especially amongst my friend group, that it's going to be failure, negative. Then you feel crappy about yourself, and then it just gets this perfect storm going more and more and more. It's not uplifting. Your approach has been so awesome. Like I saw on one of your posts, someone commented like, "I feel like I need to emotionally eat, or I emotionally ate," and you're like, "Go ahead and do it." And maybe get some mindfulness behind it as to why, and bring in your goals. Like no one says that.
yeah.
So
Thank
I
you.
like
I
the
appreciate
and
that.
it makes it, yeah, non-defensive to what you're saying.
That means a lot to me. Yeah, I want to be supportive and point out the wins. Like it's
Yeah.
just more fun if you are winning the whole time.
Well, people will stay with this long term when they feel good about themselves and feel like there are, small wins, and, see the big picture in this. They're not going to do this if like, someone's berating you over not losing 2 pounds in a week or whatever this may be. So it's just been really positive.
Good. I'm really glad for that feedback. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so the last question I have for you. Yeah, if you could just go back to your past self and give her advice, what would you say?
Well, even going back, let's say like 11 months to like when COVID started, I did not exercise literally like March through basically like consistently exercise.
Yeah.
I was very low activity, sedentary from March 2020 until like we talked. We got this dog, things are insane at the house, plus work, plus Theo. I just sat around and my weight just skyrocketed. And I wish I had met with you before
Aw, thank you.
it as to what's going on here, because
Mhm.
this was on a very negative path. I mean, I'm 48. I would like to get down to 135, feel good, and have better health. Just the
Yeah,
whole picture. Look thinner. Feel better, which is a big thing. Health concerns, just all of it. So this has been. I'm really thankful for all of us.
oh, thank you. I
Yeah.
glad to be working with you. You're very receptive to feedback and you implement things pretty fast.
But thank you for everything. And then I'll be in touch on Saturday with my weigh in. Bye.
Bye.